Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the All for the Culture show and podcast. You know, we are officially a podcast now. We're on all the podcast platforms, iTunes, Audiboom, and Google Play, and we'll be on more coming up soon. Today we got a special guest in the building. Our guest, sadly, he lost a brother from gun violence in a fatal shooting that took place in Irving Plaza in May of 2016. We all know about that, involving Troy Ave and Taxstone, who is right now locked up for the murder of his younger brother, who is Ronald Banga McFadder. He gave his life, in that horrible shooting that took place. He gave his life to save Troy Ave. And our guest today is his older brother, Sean Duke McFadder, a.k.a. Trife Gangsta. We appreciate you coming in, man. I appreciate y'all coming by. Welcome to the show, and condolences from everybody here, man. For real. That's crazy thing to go through.
Definitely, greatly appreciate it. No one could prepare for that type of loss.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. We'll get into everything. I want to run down real quick about what type of dude you were growing up, what type of young man you were growing up, for people to understand.
Growing up, I grew up, born and raised, Brooklyn, New York, South Brooklyn. My area is where Barclays Center now is. So I came up in the area that was definitely poverty-stricken. Went through foster care at a young age. Me and my siblings, everybody actually except my younger brother. And I came up in the projects. So, all I saw was turmoil, violence. And I just became a product of that same energy. As a young person, I remember being young, I was very happy about certain things. When I was in school, I was a funny guy. I had no problem with cracking a joke. I still had that same sense of humor. Yeah. But individually, once I started to look at life from what I was dealing with, I just did what was necessary to survive. Okay. To put food in my house. One parent home, 5 kids. You want to do what's necessary. And, I went to, robbing and stealing and eventually, getting incarcerated at the age of 16. So my young life is just about living lawless and doing whatever I wanted to do.
Wow. So you living that life, that led you to some dark places, am I right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about you and those dark places. For the kids that are living that life or in that situation, what I'm trying to get them to understand is the decisions you made and where that led you.
Well, the decisions I made sent me back and forth to jail and prison. Jail and prison is different. People may not understand the differences, so I'll explain. Jail for us is county, is fighting the case. Rikers Island is our county jail. We got Brooklyn House. You got different boroughs in New York City that has jails that just hold you as detainees. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, you got your state prison. So for me, hitting Rikers at the age of 16, I became quickly affiliated because of the oppression that was inside the system from correction and Latin and white gangs. Eventually led me to becoming the Blood. So for me, I went back into the streets. It was about guns and violence, drugs and violence. So all I saw was prison cells. And in those prison cells, I saw nothing but pain amongst everybody else that was there, right? Everybody been through the same things. And nobody's teaching these young people about the inside of that system. For our young peers, when I came up, my generation, it was too much glamorization of incarceration. So brothers kind of look forward to that. My first incarceration, when I knew I was going upstate, I was kind of looking forward to it, right? Because I wanted to see what it really was, because I didn't have nothing for myself.
Wow. So you joined the Bloods in jail?
Correct.
Oh, wow. Is that something that a lot of people are forced to join a gang when they're in jail? It's kind of like a forced thing because to have defense and protection?
Yes and no. I wasn't forced into anything, but I was forced, right?
Yeah.
But there's no forcing when you go. I can't speak of no other cities and states, but when I speak about the New York City prison system, nobody's forced to join gangs in the New York City prison system by the gang itself. Meaning, join this or else. That's none of that. That's not happening because where I come from, they don't want you. Come join this else. Why would I want you on my team, right?
Yeah.
But the forcing is the oppression that comes from not being part of something, yes. Right? So that's why I say I was forced. I was forced because I got jumped 3 times within a day.
Yeah,
right?
so obviously you're going to figure
Right.
out the way to stop that.
Right, I retaliated. You know, I got a weapon and I put my work in, and that's when I was approached about it. You know, we not gonna be oppressed. How you responded is what we against, right? And that's when it became a part for me. So yeah, you got those who come because they're suckers and they don't have no ability to survive on their own.
Yeah.
Right? And you got people who do it because they got nothing to live for. They want to be part of something that has a supposed meaning. So there's definitely many different reasons why that happens inside the system.
Yeah. Okay. And so you got out of you basically were in and out of prison. I understood till 2008 or 2010.
2008.
2008, right? And then you started changing your life and doing the things like GMAC.
Yes,
right?
yes and no. So I started when I was still incarcerated in 2005. I ended up taking 3 years for a criminal. Well, I pled guilty to attempt criminal possession of a weapon.
Okay.
I got 3 years state time. And during that prison sentence, I began to transition. There was a couple of key things that happened during that time that changed my thought process and how I viewed my life and what I wanted for myself. So I began to transition inside of there.
Okay.
I began to look at how I got there, what I was doing to get me there, and what I need to do to keep myself out.
Okay. What do you think made that switch finally just be able to like realize that, hey, this is not where I want to be. I want to be doing something else, and there's a system and a problem that's in place that needs to be fixed.
One, I spoke about it. If you read the article that we spoke about earlier when we wasn't recording, we spoke about a mentor who I seen when I was incarcerated, whose son came to prison with 35 to life, and he was 17 years of age.
Yes, yeah.
And his father happened to be my mentor, right? So there was a little missing print in the People magazine article that just came out about me.
Okay.
Where they said it happened while I was fighting a murder case.
Okay.
That was older.
Oh, okay.
It happened when I was doing my last prison sentence, when I saw my mentor, because I had met him my first prison bid.
Yeah.
Years, which I went upstate in 1997, right? No, 96. I went up July of 96. So that was my first prison bid. I did 3 years back then. That was a story in itself. So he helped mentor me during that time because I was wild, coming up state prison. I'm in max facility with 3 years. You're supposed to be in the medium facility. I already had to get out of there. Got a year in the box. So I was already young, coming to state. He had to calm me down. So he became a mentor for me before I went home. Ironically, I see him on my second bid. And his son comes in with 35 years of life. And I was there when they actually saw each other for the first time.
Wow.
So I kind of felt that was my sign, right? Like, okay, right? My boys are now 17, my twin boys. So it's like, okay, you want to see that happen to you or not, right? Yeah. So that was like one of the first things that once I saw that, I started also begin to look at the system differently. Right? I used to sit back and just look at, myself walking around the yard programming, doing the same shit every day, being treated like an animal. And I knew there was something better for me, and I had to figure out what that was. Wow,
that must have been a crazy experience to see that, someone meeting their son in a place like that. Wow, I'm just thinking of all the emotions that man must go through. So when you get out and you start thinking about what you want to do and how you want to contribute to the people that are going through what you went through and are in the same positions you went through, how did you come up with GMAC and how did that become your...
So I remember I was sitting in this, where was I, in Sing Sing. So when I'm in Sing Sing, I'm walking through the yard and I told myself I'm start pulling away from a lot of things. So I just started sitting back and just watching the inmate population, right? So everybody comes, yo, Trife, you good, homie? Nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, Trife wants some other, I'm on some other stuff right now. Right? I'm going through what I'm going through mentally. And then I remember I was in Sing Sing, like I said, and I was being easy, I was cooling out, and my classification dropped because they had sent me right back up to a maximum facility because when I was there last time I went home from a maximum facility. My prison record said I had to go back, even though in New York prison, if you have over 7 years, you automatically go to the max. If you have less than that, you go to the medium.
Oh, okay.
So 3 years, I'm going to a max. But at this point in my life, I know how to deal with the system, and I end up having my classification drop, and they send me to a medium facility. When I get to the medium facility, I'm galvanizing and stopping the bull crap, and I ended up getting sent to the box for being a leader. Oh. Right? Just for that. So at that point, I started to figure out, in the box, what can I do? Right? So, story, when I first started writing my mission statement, okay. I was in upstate box. Those from New York City know what that box is like. It's a double bunk box. For jail, it's a jail. That's a double bunk jail, right, box. And I started writing it, and they, of course, searched my cell randomly like they always do, and found my mission statement and gave me a ticket. And the ticket was for gang-related material. And I went to a hearing, and I was explaining to the captain at the hearing that it was me trying to create something for me to get out and stay out. And he said, I don't want to hear that. You're a gang member, you're an influential gang member, and this word says gangsters. Yeah. I got 90 days in the box. Wow. All right, for creating my mission statement.
Just for that word?
Just for that word, and who I was. So I had stopped at that point, right? I couldn't afford to get me, time for something that was positive. So I waited till I got out. But in the meantime, I just kept it in my mind, right? What can I do, right? What is it that's needed? What's missing? What I didn't have? At the same time, years before that, somebody had seen me waiting. They knew about a shootout I was in, and I was waiting to kill a dude. And his brother came downstairs to see him, and he saw me lurking on his brother, and he began to talk me down. My neighborhood knew about the situation, and me and him never even continued with that shooting. We spoke that night. Oh, okay. Right? We spoke because whatever his brother said to me was enough to make me think about my choices. Mm-hmm. And me and his brother had that we settled it that night. Went back to selling drugs. Nothing changed for me. But I went back to prison, and that stuck in my mind, right? I thought about that, and I thought about how it was effective for me. So when I came out, I said, this is what I want to implement, right? Somebody needs to get in front of the individual who's in that violent state and say the necessary things to them to help them look at the decision that they're getting ready to make. Yeah. So I began to implement that in my work. Oh,
okay. So, obviously your life growing up is a training for what you do. It's helped you and gave you knowledge. Just like if a doctor was to go to school to learn to be a doctor, it's kind of like, you're able to handle these issues that happen because you grew up in that and you were involved in that. But besides that, did you do anything special to get yourself better at solving these issues, like special training you took or things like that you did to start GMAC and to start what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can't just go out there and think you're going to be able to mediate conflicts, right? Just get in the middle of somebody that want to kill somebody. It's not that simple. Yeah. Reputation and no reputation. So me and my team, of course, went through different types of training. We went through a training, for example, with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene in New York City, which is the violence interruption reduction training. Among one type of training that we went through, to help you understand it from a different level. So one, for example, that's a training, that's about a 5-day training, about 8 hours a day. So in continuing trainings that I have to put myself in, of course, reading the necessary things to help me. What I realize is that it's a mental thing. There's no drugs needed to change the mindset, right? It's just how you visualize every situation, how you deal with every situation. And I started training on that, how to deal with the mindset.
Yeah, okay. So, for those that don't know, what does GMAC stand for?
GMAC stands for Gangsters Making Astronomical Community Changes.
Okay. And what is y'all's goal and what do y'all do in the community? Explain that to people.
Our goal in the community is to minimize the violence that's happening. To first and foremost, stop the shootings that is so frequent too often in our communities. And by looking at violence as a public health issue. Violence is a disease. It's a learned behavior. And we want to unlearn that behavior. We want to teach people how to live less violently. So our work is, if somebody gets shot, we try to stop the retaliation. Okay. If there's a conflict happening in the neighborhood, it's our job to, based on reputation, relationship, try to get in the middle of it, figure out if there's some way that we could stop it from escalating to that next point. And advocacy, youth advocacy, criminal justice, all the things that fall under that umbrella that's continuing to bring down our communities.
So, you talked about that y'all's goal is to break the cycle of violence and break the disease of violence, and so it's a learned behavior. What do you think the root cause of that learned behavior, that violence, is? What is that root cause that we're not able to attack and fix?
I don't think there is a root cause that we're not able to attack and fix. I think we've identified the root cause. The root cause is the system.
Okay.
It's plain and simple. When people say it's a messed up system, it's not a messed up system. When you are awoke and you realize that that is the system that was set up, right? So it's not messed up. It's just about, okay, how do we undo this system that pushes us to believe that we only have one way of life and one option. Okay. Right? So that's really how we look at it. We don't believe that this is something that we can't fix, right? Because when you look at violence at the levels of that is at in our neighborhoods, it's not like that everywhere today, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it was like that everywhere you go, every city, every state, every country, then you could say, oh, there's nothing we can do about that, right? But I tell young people in my neighborhood who lives in Flatbush, you can go over to Canarsie, and it's a couple blocks away, and you don't hear shootings to that extent. You don't see people dying to that extent, right?
Yeah.
So it's just about what they put in those neighborhoods. When I talk about where I'm from, the projects, we really don't look at that word. Yeah. Right? A project is what it is, right? And everybody's put into those projects, and now who's going to succeed through that?
Yeah, that's true, actually. But how much? So also, you would you say one cause also is the poverty that runs through what you're talking about? The system that's in place is also the poverty, because when I was listening to some of your interviews, something I picked up on was how they were talking about the poverty and how people who are gonna want to get out of that, it's not a violent nature to want to get out of that. It's just, I want to get out of that. So how do they see to get out of that with the opportunities that are not available is through the crimes and through the drugs and through the things like that. So is that also a cause that as America we need to try to focus on as well as the poverty issue? I
mean, if you look at my my organization, I have an umbrella. That's a logo because I believe so many things fall under that umbrella. Right? Okay. It's many different components. What I do and what we do as an organization, and those who do the work like me, it's just one point of it, right? Because when you talk about poverty, you talk about economics, right? You talk about food. So if you talk about food and I'm hungry tonight, right? I need to eat. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to commit a crime to eat. That crime may be robbery. Yeah. Right? That robbery may turn into me robbing the wrong person, now his family coming back and now they want to shoot me. Now that led to gun violence. Right? Housing. Right? I don't have nowhere to live. Right? Every night I'm trying to figure out where I'm resting my head, so I'm going to commit the necessary crimes to be able to find somewhere to sleep. Yeah. Right? Domestic violence. When you look at that, you beating up on this girl, no telling who her brother is. Now he want to come back and shoot you, and they said it was gang related. No, it was domestic violence. Domestic violence leads to gun violence. Right, so you gotta look at the so many different components that is adding to it. Right, to say poverty is definitely a factor in that, as well as many other points. Yeah.
So one of the things that I feel in our country is a big problem, and it has to the gun violence, and I've heard you speak on this, is the amount of guns on the street, right? So how do we fix that problem? That's still something that confuses me to this day, is the gun problem we have in this country. How do we stop that to minimize violence? How do we lower that to minimize violence? I know it's not possible, but doesn't it add to the violence of the streets?
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
Yes, so, that's the goal.
I'm from New York City. We don't have the same gun liberties.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
New York has the strictest gun laws.
Yeah.
Right? You have people advocating for stricter laws.
Yeah.
Right? What is a stricter law going to do for me if I don't give a fuck about carrying a gun?
Exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So all you're doing is adding more time to the prison industrial complex for them to have consumers longer.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Okay, so now when you look at the fluctuation of guns, we just had a rally in D.C. where we was, going at the NRA,
Yeah.
because that's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Right, they got all the money to promote, and they push into our communities. Like I said, New York, we don't have that, but we have a high level of guns going into our community because it continues to push the system, right? So those who have that strength are never going to allow us to just say, hey, don't push those guns in out here, right? So what we got to do is continue to work with the individuals who they're pushing the guns to not want to pick up those guns, not want to buy those guns, not want to shoot those guns.
I see. Okay. So it's more about, okay, I see what you're saying. I get what you're saying now, that it's not about the guns coming in. It's about focusing on the individuals who are going to get them and trying to change that, because you're not going to ever stop the guns.
We're not going. I mean, that's, I got a lot of people that are deep into legislation on guns.
Yeah.
Every time we work with Moms Demand Action. Different organizations in New York that focus on changing and make laws different. And I don't go at them and say, hey, don't do that, don't go restrict the laws. No, that's their way of working it, right? Because we have more than one method to do that. Yeah. Right, but we understand that, no, that's not going to change that, right? You got that iron pipeline that pushes the guns up to New York, right? So they're making enough money off of it, they're going to continue to do that. So you do exactly what I just said. You focus on the individuals. Yeah. Right? Because I looked at myself coming up in my projects. Everybody I know that came up with me didn't carry guns and go to jail. Yeah. Right? So it wasn't just the neighborhood, it was the mindset. It was what I was willing to do and what I wasn't willing to do versus somebody else, right? So I didn't get that message. I didn't get that support. I didn't get nothing else. And now that's why I brought this organization to be able to help them understand by giving them those things they didn't have. Yeah, definitely. I definitely totally agree with what you're saying. That's very true, actually. In this whole thing, what does the role of, and I've heard you speak on this in plenty of interviews about the role that hip hop plays in all of this. How do you feel that is intertwined in all of this? And do you feel that the hip hop that a lot of kids are listening to nowadays, or a lot of younger guys, 17, 18, is promoting a lot of violence and influencing them to commit acts of violence? It's definitely conflicting because you have so many that say art imitates life, life imitates art, right? Yes. And you have so many artists or rappers or whatever they want to call themselves who speak about this life at a level of glamorization that just disturbs me because living the life of guns, drugs, I ain't never want to glam. I ain't never want to be part of that. Okay. Never want to talk about it. So why do you want to, push it out there like this is all you can speak about? That's not a real talent to me. Yeah. Unless it has some purpose to that pain, right? To that, to what you're talking about. But I want to say it like this: when you look at what you told me earlier, when you went through the things you went through and you turned to hip hop. Yeah. We turned to music. Yes. So we're not just going to say hip-hop because you're going to listen to some rock that is, oh my gosh, terrible, like scares the shit out of me. And I come from the worst of the worst. Like, what the heck is they talk about? With all that black on, yelling and screaming, death, kill, devil, right? Yeah. And are there young people who are listening to that music and responding that way? It's, of course, right? Yes. But that's not my neighborhood, my community, so I don't know the effects of rock and its violence to young people, right? So I'm speaking on the hip-hop. And there's powerful and there's negative hip hop. But what we all have to realize is that music is more potent than any drug. Right? I sold drugs for a lot of years, many years ago. Right? So I've been over 10 years plus of no selling drugs. And in the time when I ran the streets, I knew some functional crackheads, right? That you would never know. You would see they would go to work, come home, they'd call me, I'd come knock on their door, serve them, and they'll be in the house, and then tomorrow they're going to work. Nobody never knew I knew, right? And I see them in the street, yo, how you doing? Yo, come see me later, no problem. But you would never know, right? Because the level of tolerance of that person has. Every crackhead doesn't go to the street and see him running around looking wild, right? So I say that to say the tolerance on who you are when you listen to music, right? And the potency is it shoots straight to your soul. Yeah. Right? Yeah. If you're listening to R&B and you going through with your shorty, you're gonna feel that song, right? You're gonna relate, right? Yep. All right. So that's the same thing with the hip hop. Right? If I'm a young teen coming up and I'm hearing this music and it's what I'm going through or what I'm seeing, I'm relating, right? So now somebody telling me I'm not the only person going through this, right? So now as I'm relating, I'm just like, okay, well, if I'm not the only person going through and everybody else is living like that, I might as well keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because the masses through the music is telling me this is what's happening everywhere else.
Yeah. So let me ask you something that I think I really want to know on a personal level. The people out there who may not be as involved in it as you, but say there are people out there that do want to help or do want to do something. How can we help? How can people help with this issue?
Oh wow! I mean, there's so many ways. You know, one thing you learn about me is I don't believe in it once, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe we want to do something, because if we want to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay.
If it's not a negative, it's going to hurt us. It's going to, right? So if we want to do it, we're going to find a way.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? If I want to go here, I'm going to do that.
You're going to be where you want to be. You're going to do what you want to do.
And I'm big on that. Like, somebody told me, hey, yo, Trife, I wanted to come to such and such and such. I couldn't because I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Because if I ain't come, it's because I really was booked or I didn't want to come, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just what it is. I didn't feel the necessary need to be there. Okay. So when you want to do something, you got to find that way, right? Yeah. But also in this work, people may not understand how to do, right? So you got to look at your neighborhood, your community, or figure out a comfort zone for you. Okay. Right? What is a comfortable thing for me to do to help this problem in my community? Right? Sometimes it's, sharing positive things or positive work of other organizations or people that's doing positive things on your social media. Yeah. Right? Yeah. What you see is more sharing of the negative than the positive. Yeah. Right? And look at that, because when people do that, they'll share a fight and say, oh my gosh, look at this is terrible. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But you still shared it. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? You still shared the negative. Right? Instead of looking at it and saying, oh, that's terrible. Yo, I just seen some terrible crap that I don't like. Yeah. But what you're doing is you giving energy, you giving promotion, light to that negativity. Right? When you think you're just saying something bad against it, like, I don't like what they just did in this video, how they jumped that girl like that. Okay, so now that person, right? But you don't see that same positivity being shared like that.
Yeah, I didn't think of it like that. That's interesting, because I'm just thinking about me personally. Like, when you said that, I'm thinking about me personally. There's been times when I've posted things that I don't really like that go on in the news, not realizing that, man, you just showing people the negative, even though you're speaking against it, is still giving it air to breathe. Right. Not letting it die, right? Not letting it go away.
Right. Like you shared and gave life to it, right?
And you got to realize that's what the media does with a lot of the issues that are not important to them, but maybe important to our culture. Is they kind of let it die, or they switch to something else to distract you, so you're not paying attention to the media. I want to ask you something, man. I did a lot of research for your interview. I watched a lot of your interviews and I read a lot of your stuff. And I saw you on The Breakfast Club, right? I wanted to ask you, man, like, you made a statement in there that I think it got kind of passed over, but it was really powerful to me. Is you said, why did it take my brother passing for this interview to happen? We've reached out to you guys many a times. And before when my brother was okay and alive and well, and y'all didn't want to do it.
Nobody wanted to talk.
So why do you think that is? Is it, again, you think the whole negativity thing, that people are just drawn to negativity and they want to put that on their platform, so they try to call you and try to get you there after the negatives happened?
Right. So I believe that society realizes the attention that negativity gets. Okay. Right. Like I just said about the sharing of the negative posts, right? So someone sitting in a position wants something that gets them that attention, right? Yeah. Gets what people want to talk about. So they gravitate towards it, right? Yeah. You're feeding the same the negative fuel. And that was really troubling for me, because the work I was doing, like I said, that my brother got killed last year, right? 2016. Yeah. And I came home in 2008. I got my organization in 2000 and funded in 2015. Yeah. Right? I was featured in the daily news and everything, right? I could show all the positives, but y'all didn't reach out to me at that point, because there was no controversy in my positivity.
No controversial
right?
story.
Yeah, you couldn't get people to talk about it, and you couldn't talk down on the positivity and talk the slick, nasty talk, right? That you do when you get a situation that gives people something to talk about, right? Yeah. So that was real disturbing for me, and great that you noticed that and pointed that out.
Yeah.
Because people will pass over those things because they
Yeah.
can't answer up to them.
They did. They passed it right over.
Can't answer up to it.
And and it got passed on everything. But yeah, it was. I noticed that, and I just thought, I thought that was bold of you to try to say that. You know.
Definitely, I'm gonna point something else out. When you look at that as a society, it's like that. Example, in the time I've been home, I've been featured in New York of the Week. I've been, like I said, in the Daily News, Vice News. Recently, of course, the People.
Revolt.
I can go on, right? There's pages and pages if you Google my name, my organization, of the positive I've done since I've been home. But if you go right on Google and you Google my name, the first thing that's gonna come up is the false murder arrest when it hit the news in 2003 or 2004, right?
Yeah.
It's my word. You go to Google, put my full name in, Sean Duke McFadder.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that pops up. This is 2004, right?
That's crazy.
So you have to tell me how is that still popping up as the first thing when you Google my name with all the positive there?
Yeah.
Right. What system? Who's doing that within Google? Right.
Yeah.
There's accountability there.
Yeah.
Right. Because you would think that by date.
Yeah.
Right. The relevancy and clicking right will
Yeah.
come up. I've been watching this since I've been home.
Yeah.
Right? Several years later, as every time a new news story came out about me and my organization, that stayed in the front because they want people to see the most negative thing they can about you and not see that positive.
Yeah, and because that's also gonna get the clicks, like you said. That's gonna get the clicks. Wow. So, we spoke a little bit about the younger generation and the guys coming up and the role that hip hop plays in it. I feel like the younger generation right now, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they don't really have as much of respect for life. And they're very quick to pop off. There's no like, oh, let's shoot a fair one. It's straight from the beef to the guns. And I feel like that's why we have things like Chicago going on and certain things like that. Why do you think that happened in that way, that it went from being used to be not so quick to pop off, and now they're so quick to just grab the gun and go?
I give myself blame in that.
Okay.
Why I give myself blame in that is because I come from a generation that got morals, principles, codes, and ethics.
Yes.
And took it from the OGs and just went on and used it in my life. And so focused on using it in my life that I didn't take the time out to teach them. So now put me and others in that category, right? Where they knew we were shooting, right? So they came up to the same thing, they're shooting, right? But they may not ever had the conversation of, they used to fight, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we at with the work, right? They have a depraved difference for life because of that, also because of the system, once again. When you look at the unjust shootings by police officers, and there's no justice, right? Mm-hmm. So what are you telling them?
Yeah.
Right? You're telling them that nobody cares about their life. So if nobody cares about their life, they begin to feel like, why should I care about my life or anybody else's life?
Yeah.
Right. So we gotta reinforce life into them. Right.
Yeah.
These young people, let them look at it, right? Because what they're doing is they're not living for tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're living for today.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna do whatever I could do to get through today. Right. Mm-hmm. Whatever happens tomorrow, I deal with it. Yeah. Even if what I did today was wrong and foul, I just deal with it tomorrow. But I made it through today. Right. So we got to start helping them heal and focus on building for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing to just live for today. I mean, that's really not conducive to the world getting better or their lives getting better. We talked about this off camera, and you can speak on it as much as you'd like. But you're very involved with the shutting down of Rikers and even the changing of Rikers, from what I understand. But we talked about Khalif Browder in the car, and you shared your thoughts and views with me on that. If you would mind sharing with the people what we talked about Khalif Browder and that situation that happens in Rikers.
Well, people who know me know my position in that. I've been in Rikers too many times and been through the same type of pain and turmoil. Rest in peace that the brother Khalid Brown have been in.
Rest in peace.
But my issue is not really with the situation. It's just how everybody else decided to gravitate and get involved with it. It made the situation seem like it was solely just the system or just Rikers, but not understanding the individual mind. Because I and many other brothers has been through a lot worse than that. Right? I don't, going to me as a 14-year-old, the first time I walked into Rikers in the infirmary, I was beat up by correction officers. Went into the intake house with a black eye.
Wow.
That was 16-year-old first time going in.
Damn.
Yeah, you know what I mean? All because I fell asleep in the infirmary. He was calling my name. I didn't hear him. Those days they had us in the central bookings for about 7 days. So you got to go through an infirmary. I'm tired, and he calling me. Somebody like, "Is that your name?" So he's like, "You don't hear me calling your fucking name." I said, "Yo, who the fuck is you cursing at? I'm 16. You know what I'm saying?" Like,
yeah. Oh wow.
He hit me. I hit him right back. Right?
Oh shit.
Yeah. What do you mean? I'm 16. Reflex. But mommy told you nobody hit me.
Yeah.
Right? How dare I? And they, somebody said, "Well, you shouldn't have hit him back. We shouldn't have hit me." Right? But point is, that shouldn't have been a response that I got coming into there at a young 16-year-old.
For sure.
So think about going forward how I begin to respond and react. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just really looking at that system and understanding that so many people are going to go through it. Some people are going to deal with it differently.
Yeah.
How he dealt with it and how he left and what he been through, that's an individual. And to see, if I just feel like people just saw a story to gravitate to and ran with that story. That's just my position on that. I feel like there's so many other brothers who went through worse and nobody's hearing their story. Right? Yeah. But they didn't commit suicide. They're out there still living their life and focusing. We got to find those individuals and hear their stories as well.
Yes, totally. You hear a lot about Rikers, and you hear a lot about people that are trying to reform Rikers and do things for Rikers. What is it that makes Rikers? What is it that makes Rikers so different than a lot of the other jails and prisons in America? Okay.
So Rikers, right? When you hit Rikers, first of all, you got to cross the bridge.
Yeah.
Bridge take about 3 minutes to get over. I say 2 to 3 minutes to get over. Long bridge, and they say it's the longest bridge in the world because it take you 2 to 3 minutes to get over, and it take you years before you cross that bridge free again, right? But the jail, the Rikers facility was actually started around a slave owner, Riker.
Oh.
And they used to transport slaves into Rikers Island before they turned into a prison.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's so many different facilities there, and the culture of violence there, right? You got all the boroughs in New York City, right? Mingling, interacting, you don't know what's possible to happen in there because of that, right? What beats a borough to borough. But Rikers' energy is just the correction officers also, right? Or not getting the help and assistance they need. Mm-hmm. And I do work with them now, right? And I identify that by being there and seeing how they respond. Yeah. What people is not looking at is that they're being put into this environment with criminals who are fighting, right? Who are treated unjustly because of excessive bails. Mm-hmm. So many young people on Rikers because they just can't pay the bail, and bail wasn't made to be excessive. Bail was made to ensure that you return to court, not to hold you and to be detained, right? To continue to change that, to add to the aggression in your mind. So when you look at the culture of Rikers, right, you also look at the fact that those CEOs are coming having to deal with that, right? All right, so a CEO may be on what they supposed to do 20, 25, 30 years, depending, right? Now, they're going home, but they're coming home, they're coming to work every day to be incarcerated for those hours that they have to work.
Yeah.
Right? So now they're constantly being challenged, and any man or woman that feels like they're constantly being challenged will feel at a certain point, I'm not going to continue to be challenged, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to respond to the negative. So now I'm responding to negative. CEOs and inmates respond to negative, and all you have is negativity. Nobody's working to heal the issues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when you go inside Rikers Island and you talk to these inmates, what kind of guidance, what kind of words are you giving them? What are you saying to them? What do you help them with when you're going in Rikers?
That's different. So we work in different facilities, and anybody on Rikers will tell you each facility is different. Right? You got some facilities that you don't even want to be nowhere around as a CO or inmate. Extremely violent. Then you have some a little bit calmer because of the structure of the individuals there. So we work in juvenile, right? 16, 17-year-olds. They have no understanding of the system, first timers. How can we help them, right? If they're staying there, how can we help them understand the law? How can we help them cohabitate? Because inside of Rikers, they created an energy of segregation, where you got Bloods in the house, Crips in the house, the Spanish gangs in the house, like the Patias, and they don't teach them to coexist, right? So we talk about that. We said if you're going to state prison, you're going to coexist. If you're going back to society, what you going to do, right? Oh, what's your goal? My goal is I want to go home. Well, are you facing life? No. What do you got? I got a robbery. Okay, well, guess what? You're 16 with a robbery. You're going to go home. All right, so going home is not a goal, right? That's what's gonna happen. Eventually, if it's not in a week, if it's not in 2 years, you're gonna go home. So you can't make that your goal, right? So we look at something tangible, something that you can do, right? How can we now work with you to get you out? So we have some young brothers and sisters that come home, and we get them right into work, right? Because that's one of the things that organizations focus on is employment for youth. Can't tell you get out the streets if we can't provide a job. So advocating through city council, the mayor of our city, and other offices, we're able to secure more some youth employment. We're able to secure all year round anti-gun violence youth employment programs. Right? And we tell them, listen, we have opportunities for y'all. What type of trades you like? Okay, I like to do this. Okay, we got the network to put you in those trades, right? Because I remember when I was there and I was 16, I didn't have a want. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to be anything. Right? So if you don't have no future want, desire, then that's how you begin to live that by today. You know what I'm saying? So whatever is based on the individual, based on the facility. If you're older and you've been through the system, I got a zero tolerance for certain things, right? I said I got zero tolerance for excuses. I got zero tolerance for a 30, 35-year-old who still think he's 18 to 20, 21, right? All right, you got to get it together. You got to wake that light up yourself, right? At a certain point. But the young ones who haven't had the opportunity, that's where we focus our work.
Because they're at that level where they can change. A 33-year-old, 34-year-old is gonna be harder to change, and it's like, come on, man, it's kind of your job now to change yourself. But I like that in what your organization is kind of showing, which I'm kind of getting from you here, just listening, is that even though you might be making more money on the street, nobody wants to live that. They're gonna want to change if you provide them with the opportunity. They're just gonna want to, even if it's not as much money as they're gonna get off the street or as fast of a life or provide what they think is an allure. They still want to get out of what they're doing. They don't want to do what they're doing, is what I'm understanding from your organization. What you saying?
The majority.
The majority. The majority.
Right. Everybody's not savable. Right? The system is still going to be there. Prison is still going to have inmates, right? All right. So if you decide that that's what you want to do, that's on you.
That's on you.
Right? But if you saying, yo, I really want something different, I want help for myself, then that's on all of us to help you get to that level. You know what I mean? So that's just where we at. We meet you where you at. Right? I ain't about to sit here and try to force something on you.
Don't help someone who don't help themselves.
You don't want to get ahead. You know, holler at me, do a couple of years, and maybe I can help you then. You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, of course. And so another thing I heard you speak on, which is something that I don't hear too many people speak on, is, and I don't remember where I heard you say this, but it was one of your interviews. You're talking about beating your kids and how you don't do that, how you don't whoop your kids.
Right.
I'm from a minority family. I know that's something that a lot of minorities do more than a lot of other cultures. Right. I got whoopings growing up. I got my fair share. But you go talk to my father right now, and that's something that literally almost will bring him to tears. It's something he regrets to this day. He hates it. He hates that he did that. So I want to talk to you. Why don't you do it? Why do you feel? Why are you against that? Because a lot of people will say, "Man, that's crazy. That's a white person thing. We beat our kids." No, you know what I mean. And so I'm just wondering how you came to that.
I can approach that from many ways. I mean, I grew up watching the white people not beat their kids. We saw that, right? So it gets controversial when you talk about that because I feel it comes from slavery. It comes from the whipping of the slaves. And that's why the white people don't beat their kids. Because only the slaves was getting beat.
I see.
Right? So then as the slaves got beat, right, by the masters, the slaves then began to beat their children because that's what the masters did.
Yeah.
Right? So then those, of course, continue with generations, right? And then we begin to believe that that was the source of discipline, right? So that falls on our children. Example for me was my mother beat me all through my life. Some days we knew the beat was coming and we just stayed out, right? Because curfew's up. If we got to beat her, well, what's the beat? Might as well just rock it out, right? 'Cause the beat coming anyway. But it never really did nothing for me, right?
Yeah.
I remember the last time my mother beat me. I don't remember what happened. I was coming home late from school, right? And I walked in the house, and I actually got jumped that day. She just didn't believe me, right? And I said, "Ma, why you late?" "Yo, I got jumped." You know, I'm not trying to hear that. So she got the belt, and she started to beat me. And I just stood right there, and I'm looking at her. And she's like, "Yeah, I wish you swing." I was like, "I'm not going to swing. But mine, that don't hurt no more," right?
Yeah.
And that's when it was no more discipline for mom for me, because that was her only way of disciplining me.
Yep.
Right? So now once the belts don't hurt no more, all right, what's up? I'm all the way in, right? I'm probably, like I said, I was in junior high school at that time. I was in junior high school. So in junior high school, it ended. So I looked at that and said, okay, it didn't help me. It didn't make me no better of an individual.
Exactly.
It didn't. You know, you could have disciplined me different. Then I look at our young people, right? If I give that to my child, I'm doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
That's why we respond that way. When somebody does wrong to us, what we do, we want to hit them or punch them or because we was given that through those methods.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what we gotta get. All right, I tell example of my sons when they were younger and they used to be fighting. I hated when they fight. They twin brothers.
Yeah.
I hate that. Don't fight. So did I beat them when they? No. What I used to do is I used to make them stand in the middle of the room and hug each other. About 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah, like just hug. So when I come in the room, I'm like, y'all got the message? Yeah. All right, y'all ready? Yeah. All right, you put your hands up here. You switch your hands. I'll be back, right? Stay a little bit longer. And, you know, that was just my way, right?
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I had to find a different, there was other ways of discipline that I had.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But the beating wasn't my method, and, it never will be.
Yeah, there's definitely better ways out there. I remember my pop, we used to have, like, as soon as you walk into our old house, we used to have the tiles that had the thick grout, and he would make us kneel on that and put our hands up in the air. Woo. And like military style. And as soon as he would stop looking, you drop your hands, he look back up, you lift your hands. I was like, this is the worst. I was like, Dad, can you just beat me instead of this?
Yeah, he thought he was helping you, right?
Yeah, I was like, can you just beat me? I'd
Yeah,
rather you just beat me than do this. Yeah.
Get it over Who asks for just give me a regular beating? That must have been worse when you say, just give me a regular beating.
Yeah, I was like, just give me a beating, please.
I'm sorry to hear that one.
My dad was it's tough, but man, it turned me out to be the type of dude I am, so I love it. You know, I don't really mind.
I never had one of those.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a sad thing, man. With the hip hop community, is that problem?
That's changing though. That's changing. I'm seeing a lot more fathers get involved now.
Oh,
you know, and I think a lot of it is to the fact that they've experienced that lack thereof.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and that's I speak for myself mostly. Everything I say, I speak for myself and my experiences, and I'm sure that there's others who can concur to these feelings. And for me, it was as my children. I don't want them to experience what I experienced, so I will always be a father to my children.
Yeah,
you know?
I got friends like that who they didn't have a father in their life, and they had kids, and they said the same thing. They said, because I didn't have my father in my life, I'm gonna make sure I'm the best dad I could possibly be.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I hear a lot of people say that, but we also another thing that you talked about, which is important, I feel, to the audience that watches, is your theory on snitching, which is kind of my theory. Right? Okay. Which is like, if there's a lady who lives in this building, she walks outside on her balcony, and she sees some kids getting beat up or hurt or a kidnapping, and she calls the police or she's a shooting, she's not a snitch. But if you're involved in that activity and you get caught and then you try to get yourself out of trouble by putting someone else in trouble, to me, that's what snitching is.
Right.
Snitching is not when you're a civilian and you say, hey, I'm not involved in that life. I don't do that life. And you see something that you don't like and you call the authorities.
Right.
Can you speak on that and also how you feel that's changed now? Because people do think that that's snitching.
I mean, that's because they don't. A lot of people who speak on things don't come from the streets.
Yeah.
You know, they just running with something. You know, I hear it so often. Oh, that's that. You know, that's you snitching. Just like from a kid, just from telling that somebody did something to you.
Yeah.
All right, and that's how once again the cultures continue to be given to our children. So when I look at that, I know as an individual who ran the streets and never told on nobody, and I've had plenty of times where there were co-defendants who got away. I understand the mindset, right? Why someone would feel that way. I actually had somebody who wrote me a letter that, yo, I better cop out because he's going to tell on me. I still got that letter, actually. He went home, copped out to 6 months, 5 years probation, told me the DAs, we work with the DA. Yeah, real crazy. So, you know, I definitely been through that experience. And when you speak of snitching, you have to understand, when I go out in the streets and I'm hustling, robbing, stealing, I'm agreeing to the rules and regulations of that, right? Incarceration comes with that.
Yeah, you're making a choice.
Yeah, you're making a choice. That incarceration comes with that, right? So now, when you decide to save yourself time or make your situation better by having somebody else go to prison because it's about you in a criminality, then that's snitching, right? But we look at a civilian, right? Because we lose the rules. And there's other words, right? And the other words that we fail to use is witness, right? Cooperating witness.
Yeah.
Right? You got a cooperating witness and you got a corroborating witness. And people don't understand the differences. A corroborating witness is someone who did a crime, right? And they got them in there saying, well, I'm corroborating that story.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm confirming that story versus the cooperating witness, right? Or the person who sees it and that's the cooperating witness,
Yes.
right? I am a witness. I'm not a snitch. I'm not a victim. I witnessed that and it's a crime. And people have that moral right to do so, right?
Yes.
To say, okay, I saw a crime happen that shouldn't happen. I'm a witness to it. I feel necessary to bring up information because of that crime. Mm-hmm. Those people should not have fear of anything happening to them because they're not part of your crime. So, we got to get the understanding of what that is and get people to look at how we deal with that and going forward. If someone is part of a case, young boy, don't go out there and have your friend or somebody risk their life trying to shoot an innocent person because you committed a crime and now they have proof that you committed that crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you something, and this is something that I always wondered. It was really something, honestly, that I had thought about for a while because I thought about like how, there's kids out there who, make mistakes as young guys, 16, 17, but then they get out, they want to make a difference. They want to go to college, actually. And I know that when you get out of jail, it's a little bit, or prison, it's a little bit harder to get a job. Not a little bit harder, it's a lot harder to get a job. Do people have that same problem with getting into college as well after they get out of prison?
Before they did, because depending on the case, when you had drug cases, they didn't want to let you get financial aid. Speaking in New York City, I know that was a fact.
Okay.
But now so much is changing. What happened in our city, in New York, the mayor and the city council and others helped to change the laws in going to college.
Okay.
So now in New York City, New York State, New York City for sure, if you have a household income of less than $104,000 per year, then you can get college for free.
Okay.
Right? So now with that being a change, now we have to look at how that's affecting formerly incarcerated, right? Because we work with formerly incarcerated that's returning back to society.
Yeah.
Right? Once you look at that group, right?
Yep.
Think about how underserved and how many people are part of that group, formerly incarcerated, returning back to society that need the right type of services and go back to school. So it was hard back in the days, but now there's a lot of shifts happening to help them to stop the recidivism.
That's good because I was thinking that I was like, man, there's probably a good amount of people that are in that scenario of wanting to go to college after they leave the correctional facility that they're in. So I've always wondered that. One thing that we talked about, or I saw on Hot 97 that you talked about, and I reposted this when we first tried to link up the interview, and I gave my opinion on it, and y'all had talked about how in the suburbs and in the poverty-stricken areas, there is the same amount of badasses, right? And my input on the situation was that, yeah, there are the same amount of people doing stuff a lot of times in the suburbs that there are in the other places, but it's what the cops are looking for. It's what the cops are doing. I feel more in the nicer areas, it's more protect and serve.
Right.
In the poverty-stricken areas, it's harass and collect.
Very good observation. Because there's less money
Yeah.
And in the suburbs, they actually live in those areas.
Yeah.
Right? So they feel like, why take my peers also? Yeah. But yeah, when you look at it, it's the same energy. Just because you live in the suburbs, I mean, you squeaky clean.
Exactly.
And sometimes the suburbs are worse because there actually people who live there will go out of the suburbs and commit these crimes and go home to their nice homes.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the mindset. It's what they're being part of, what they're seeing. So I don't think it's really the area. It's what that individual wants for themselves and how strong is their mentality.
Yeah, it's even the same in schools. You think about it, it's like in the schools, you see a lot of drugs in the suburb schools, a lot of times more than you do in the other schools. You see them in the suburb schools because the kids have money to buy those drugs and buy mass quantities of these drugs for themselves. And I know like, growing up, kids around my area be like, man, where let's go smoke. Where do we smoke? Let's go to the suburbs. Wait, why?
Right.
Because the cops ain't gonna think that we're doing it there. They ain't gonna bother you there.
They're not looking for crime.
They're not looking for there. They're not. When they pull us over, they're not worried about. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about, let me just get the ticket or whatever. And you might hear a person even argue like, nah, don't give me a ticket. Why you giving me a ticket? I want your name. I want your badge. Right. That ain't gonna. I mean, let's be honest. As minorities, that don't happen with us. The first thing we're thinking is hands on the wheel.
Yeah. We see. I haven't been in the criminal life in many years, and still when the police get behind me, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, as soon as you see them, you drive, you might have been cool and everything was good. As soon as they pull up behind, they might be going about it. They got nothing to do with you. Soon, oh my gosh, here we go, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that what they offer to us is never help in security, right? It's always hurt and incarceration. Yeah. So when you look at the neighborhoods, these neighborhoods respond different because they get a different response.
Exactly, yeah. And I can understand just being brown skinned now in this day and age. Everybody mistakes me for Muslims. I've had cops who mistake me for Muslim and kind of get nasty with me, and I'm like, first of all, I'm not Muslim. Second of all, the fuck does that matter?
Right.
Why the hell does that matter to you? You're supposed to be serve and protect. One other thing, the last thing I wanted to, not the last thing actually. I got a couple more questions actually, because this is really interesting to me. That we've interviewed so many different people from the culture, but this is the first time we're talking to somebody who's been in it and who can see what's going on firsthand. What do you think the things are that first need changing first? Like, what is the first step in all of this? The first steps in all this and changing everything for the better.
Steps in changing
the gun violence.
I mean, we are the first step.
Y'all's first step.
Right. So many organizations. When I speak on New York City, we have what's called. We started with Cure Violence, which started out in Chicago, which is dealing with gun violence from a public health perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, once again, it's a learned behavior, so we contain that violence.
Yeah.
New York City was able to build what's called the crisis management system, which is a stronger system because it works on wraparound services for the individuals who are most affected, who would like to be shot or to shoot, and that's how we've been doing the work. In New York City, there's about 18 sites. There's 18 sites that's funded to do this work. And out of those areas that those 18 sites in, we have to submit data monthly. In the data, we don't submit nobody's names. We don't have nobody's names in our systems because we dealing with conflict, and we don't need to be called into nobody's cases because of the credibility of knowing a situation. So we have to protect our team. But we put this data in mediations, right, that we stop, conflicts that we mediate rather, and the number of shootings in these areas have went down, right? Yeah. To the 18 sites, because of these 18 sites, and of course we understand that law enforcement, NYPD is doing the job by getting the guns off the streets. New York City is the safest city. Right? It's public health. Right? Yeah. It's safer because of the work. So out of 18 sites that have a decline in violence, you can't dispute the data. That's showing last year we had over 5,000 mediations.
Wow.
So if you have 5,000 mediations, right? How many of those, if they weren't mediated, could have turned to somebody getting shot, right? Because every time somebody gets shot, I mean, only one person is getting shot.
Yeah, exactly. It's retaliation, multiple people. Correct. Yeah, definitely.
Right. So think about that is what we talk about, being able to show the work, right? Showing if I'm able to get in front of a situation, then I'm able to stop it. But that's not just a New York City thing. That's not just a Chicago thing, because they're working hard. We know some brothers that's working hard in Chicago, and we want to hope to get to minimize the level of violence, right? Because when we speak about Chicago, I got people saying, yo, what's going on in Chicago? I can't really speak. I've never been in Chicago. I got brothers I know that's out there, but the things I'm hearing, well, they pushing the guns out here, and okay, you know what I'm saying? That's what I spoke about when I said earlier, like, it doesn't matter if you give me 10 guns right now, I mean, I'm going to go shoot them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Right? That don't mean that. So if that is what's happening, all right, how are we helping? How are we helping that level of violence? So what I'm saying is we have to start looking at that in every city, every state, right? How can we be effective in our comfort zone, like you asked earlier, to take that next step? Not just the way I did it, right? I found out something that made sense to me, right? And we all have to start doing that. What do you feel is your way? So when I created GMAC, I knew what that meant to me. I knew what I wanted to do, right? Yeah. And now look at me, right?
I see what you're saying.
So everywhere we could do something, right? Or we can be part of some organization that's already doing something. And once again, if we don't know what that is, then maybe it's us who have to create it.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, though. You're saying kind of basically that you got to tailor it to each city and each place that you're doing it. You gotta adapt how you're trying to help to each surrounding in each area.
Right.
One thing I wanted to ask you, which I'm sitting here just kind of in my thoughts wondering, how, because I'm sure even though you come from that background, it still took time to build up trust within the community.
Right.
How were you able to do that? How did you do that? How did you build the trust?
What trust are you talking
about?
With
the trust for people to come to you for the mediations and to trust that you're gonna help them in the correct manner and get them and so that they see that what you're saying is the right path and trust you in that manner.
All right, so first, it's definitely not me and myself. I got a team. I got violence interrupters who are also credible. Their job is to mediate conflicts. Outreach workers and other brothers from the neighborhood. When you build up a reputation of respect, like I never been no sucker, and I never just did no foul stuff to nobody. Yeah. And you show people through your actions. So my actions showed that change is possible, right? I could be out here living the same reckless way, shooting guns. That's simple, right? Yeah. So I showed that. And the people around me show that are genuine. You have to be real about this, right? You have to, a young person can see through fakeness, right? So you're passionate of this work. So when we go out there, we just speak about the reality of it. Also for me, I've become even more credible by the unfortunate taking of my brother's life.
Oh,
you know
wow.
What I'm saying? Because, I didn't go to jail, right? I could have went right back ASAP.
Okay,
right?
I see.
See what I'm saying? So that's the unfortunate thing about that for me is I had to use it for a positive.
Yeah.
Right? I speak on me being in the street, shooting guns, going to jail, and then starting an organization. But that's different now. Now I have that, and now I have the fact that my brother was taken from me, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't respond how I would have in the past. Most people. You see so that is the best example that you can give to somebody.
That's
right? When
real.
I'm out there and I'm saying, listen, when I speak to them in Rikers and I tell them, listen, man, this is a challenge every single day.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not all the way healed, dude. I still, that's my brother, right? So yeah, I'm challenged, right? And I want y'all to understand that don't, just because you have challenges in front of you, don't mean just give up and say fuck it, right?
I see what
How
you're
do you
saying.
overcome? How do you fight through that challenge, right? And that's the best credibility we could have.
I see what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense. That because through losing your brother, they kind of look at you and say, "Well, he lost his brother and he didn't retaliate, so I don't need to retaliate either." It kind of just proves that you're living by what you say. I like that. That's really cool. So I wanted to ask you, man. Let's kind of switch gears for a minute, and before we get into the whole hip hop part of it, I wanted to know for the people that don't know your brother, what kind of young man was your brother growing up?
Mommy's boy, very tough.
Okay.
I just had to beat him up all the time. He just thought he was the big brother. And go tell mommy. But a very happy kid. The thing about my brother was he unfortunately came up under me and my older brother. My older brother, I don't speak about it, but he's actually on Rikers now too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, but during the time that I lost Banger, my older brother was fighting a case and he blew trial. Right? So he been in there fighting while his brother was killed. And right now we waiting as he had some injustice that happened to him young, where he had a misdemeanor when he was a teen and they made him go to state prison for it. Yeah,
Wow.
and it was supposed to have been a misdemeanor. So we going through a whole legal process right now, but they're trying to give him life. So it's kind of what a brother been going through, but the energy keeps pushing, right?
Yeah.
Where was we with that though?
We're talking about just what kind of guy your
Right.
younger brother was.
So me and bro grew up in the streets.
Yeah.
Me and my older brother. He was incarcerated, like I said, young. I went back and forth, and we tried to keep him away from that, right? He wanted to hang out with us, no go, right? I actually put Banger on the basketball court. I was very good at a young age with basketball, and he began to excel in that. Right?
Okay.
And his life was ball. He grew up a happy person, a people's person, helped everybody he could, and always had a great spirit. You see him, he was super fantastic. That was his energy. So you look at an individual like that who was a celebrity, and he wasn't even a rapper or actor or none of that. He just was that person.
Yeah.
Had a special spirit.
Yeah, and I mean, y'all kind of did succeed in pushing him away because he can find a way to make money, and live a life. But sadly, that what happened. Yeah, so man, let's switch gears for a minute and for a little bit, and let's get into the hip hop and what happened to your brother and all the people and everything that happened. So before we get into Troy Ave, I want to know the quick breakdown of your brother and his relationship, where like how they met, when they met, and how they became buddies and friends and cool and stuff like that.
I just spoke on that. My brother and him went to Utrecht High School together.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely had a relationship prior to son getting into the music.
Yeah.
That's where it fostered. So when I met bro, or my bro brought him up to me, it was about that. My high school friends doing music, and I'm supporting him in management, and that was the conversation. So I'm just supporting my brother.
Yeah. Okay. So you just kind of watched from a distance and kept
For a while. Yeah.
Yeah, kept the eye on it. But you were also around Troy as well, and during his rise to stardom, you were around him as well, because I heard you say you were on the Summer Jam stage.
Yes.
Sometimes and things like that. What kind of role were you playing in that with Troy? Just kind of there as a big brother type of thing, or?
I'd rather not speak on that dude right now.
Okay, we can move on then.
Yeah.
Anybody you don't want to speak on, man, we move straight on.
You ask your brother, if I ain't going, I'll let you know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever you got there, don't worry about it. I'm not insulted or anything.
Yeah. So let's move on to, if you don't mind me asking, what's your relationship like with the other guys from BSB, like Hovain and Young Lido and all of them, and after videos came out and things like that, how did you How did you feel about what happened and what went down with that?
That's still in the air. That's that right there. You'd be surprised. I still haven't leveled out where I'm at with the brothers, right?
Yeah.
Haven't been no communication. A couple have reached out to build and voice their feelings and position.
Yeah.
But for the most part, man, it wasn't really about them. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of an energy that I believe was the family. So I just got a lot of disappointment in the actions of all of them after.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it was no fault of theirs before, they didn't carry themselves in the manner at which I know they should have handled. They know they should have carried themselves after. So it's really about a disappointment in the energy of those brothers.
Okay. And so I mean I saw a young Lito had apologized to you on Instagram through a post. But I didn't really see too much else about anybody saying
about
anything.
Who?
I think I saw young Lito post something on Instagram apologizing to you
me,
when that thing came out, when that whole thing came out about what they did and how they ran.
I mean, I'm keeping it tall. For him, I definitely understand and respect the fact that he did that.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, they just don't know how to respond to me. They don't. I keep it tall. They don't know how to deal with me. They know who I really am as an individual, and they know what happened. I expect something different from them. So, I gave them benefit of the doubt. Because I know who I am. They know. I'm a different individual. So, brothers just didn't know how to deal. Still don't know how to deal with me.
Yeah, and I mean, you said you're not someone who takes excuses at all. So they probably want to give you excuses and don't have anything to tell you or anything to say to you. Yeah,
that don't matter. But it's once again, it's about sometimes it ain't about the act. It's about the actions after the act.
Yeah, for sure. So there's one guy that's kind of been in this, and kind of his name's been dropped in and out of it. And I wanted to get your feeling on him, if you don't mind sharing your feeling on him about all this. Is the young rapper from New York, Casanova?
What about?
He was there that day,
right.
They say, and stuff. What's your feeling on him? Did you know him because he's from Brooklyn? Did you know him growing up?
Nah, I didn't know him growing up, but he know me. I know him.
Okay.
We had a conversation, but once again, that brother's no comment.
No comment. Okay, I can respect it, man. So let's talk about Irving Plaza and the negligence that goes to Irving Plaza. How do you feel they failed, and what they could have done, and what could have been done different? And do you feel that the entertainers that come, I don't want to just single out T.I. because it happens to a lot of shows. I've been to different concerts. Do you think the entertainer has some responsibility to make sure that the venue is secured as well?
The venue and the entertainer, the headliner, has all the responsibility. I said it before, and I don't understand. People when they're being pointed out as being held accountable for something, they'll never speak to it because they want to act as if they're not. You understand what I'm saying? So it's about if I say something, I'm admitting or whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm going to speak for me as a general, right? Somebody who knows how to move and how to lead and secure. Yeah. We not moving in there like that, right? If you gotta, I'm going into a city to do a show and I'm bringing certain energies out. I got to make sure that everything is right. If not for the people that's coming, the hundreds and hundreds of people that's coming, knowing the energy I'm bringing in, for myself first and foremost. Yeah, right? For sure. I got to secure me, right? So now somebody on my team is supposed to make sure all those things are taken care of. Yeah. Right? So that's where that accountability comes in at, because it's about the person that you hired to secure the facility that you doing the show at. Right? That's incompetence to me. Yeah. Right? Everything need to be checked out. All right, yo, bro, everything good. We good to go. They cleared. I checked this, checked that. All right, let's go. Everybody's safe, right? Yeah. Because it's been history where not the way Banger died, but other people's been shot in venues. Yeah. Right? All right. So you look at that and say, okay, how do I protect mine and those who come in to see me and pay for me, right, from any of this happening? That's accountability that I'm talking about. When you can't accept that and you don't see that, right, then I lose respect. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So
we talked about it in a little bit, and I watched your interview on Doggy Diamonds, right? And I told you, I said that interview was kind of crazy to me to see you in that interview, and then to see you as on another interview. It was like you could really see the emotion. You could tell that was your true feeling. Did that happen the day of that interview that happened at the Breakfast Club? And how were you feeling at that moment?
So yeah, that definitely happened the day of. It was months later, so I was still dealing with it. And I never really see this whole interview thing, podcast, this, that, Hot 97, Power 105. I never been an interview person, and even with you, I pay attention, and you have a good vision, so I pulled up, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at those interviews, it was about the fact that I had to respond to not just what he was saying, but what everybody was saying.
Yeah.
Or what everybody wasn't saying, or what everybody believed it to be. I saw a lot of misconceptions and stories pushed out, and promotion of individuals that shouldn't have been promoted and supported. Mm-hmm. And when I did the interview, it was that day, right? Me being in the political realm that I'm in, people upset at me by showing that emotion, right?
Yeah.
But I ain't never been a person who hid. And that's just what I was dealing with that day. It's good that I had that outlet, because no telling what my other energy would have been had I saw who I needed to see, right?
Yeah.
But when I did that, it's just where I was at. I ain't want to hold nothing back, because people need to understand who you dealing with, right? You don't know a lot of people out there, you don't know who's capable of doing what.
And people need to feel what you're feeling and what you're going through and what your emotion is at that time. And I think that interview really painted that.
Fact, while I'm watching everybody all over the world talking about it. People say all over. It's not all over. Yes, all over the world. It's on the internet. Yeah, it's all over the world, So, and everybody got opinions and objectives, right?
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with it, right? And I was there when it first started from a Twitter text, right? So, that's my point, being able to give that raw emotion and then being able to pull back, right? Listen, this is where I was, but I'm still in control of who I am. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, brother, I had to do that for others as well that needed questions to answer.
Yes.
I had so many people hit me like, thank you. Right? I needed that. Like, I really didn't understand a lot.
Oh, yeah. That first time I watched that, I was like, thank God we get to hear the real, because even when I'm watching the interview, right, the Breakfast Club interview, so many things were just so rude. I mean, telling him I remember saying, "No, we're gonna do the funeral near Popeyes." Who the hell are you? Then saying, we sent flowers anyway. I was flabbergasted. I was like, you sent flowers anyway after they told you they don't want flowers? And then you come, and then the one thing that I noticed, that I noticed as well, when he said coming out the woodwork.
Out the woodwork.
I didn't like that. I was like, come on, bro. You insulting the mother, the sister.
Out the woodwork.
I didn't like that name.
Man.
I didn't like that. And I saw you catch that too, and I'm like, thank you. He caught it. I was like, yes, thank you.
Man, you can't come out the woodwork when dude call you and say, yo, bro, can I talk to you? Yo, Rick Ross want to sign me. This is well before anybody knew what was going on. You know what I'm saying? And use me for mentorship, or yo, bro, we pulling up here. Yo, all right, I'm on deck. I'm the person that got the team moving strong throughout these spots, right?
Yeah.
It's reality. Me and Bang, Bang was your strongest person on your team. Bang brought me and bro, and I come with an army, and you know that.
Yeah.
So to talk like that, that's really what did it for me. When you defile a person's family,
Yeah.
One thing I'm willing to do is, if you don't stand for anything, you fall for whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna die for my family, my beliefs. So it's just that, right? Being able to get people to understand that we got to stand for our family, and we can't just let anybody get away with everything. You give somebody a platform, it can go wrong if it's not addressed in the correct way.
Yeah, you give the wrong person $1, they're gonna want 2. Yep. They're gonna want 3. I loved what you said in the Doggy Diamonds interview, which made perfect sense to me. I don't know how this didn't make sense to him, but you talked about when your brother got locked up, and you said, homie, he's always on BSB time. If you start a beef, that's that's always going to be something that he has to deal with if you run your mouth.
Right.
And my brother's affiliated with you, and then when he steps out the house, he's got to deal with what you said. So if something happens and he gets in trouble, that's still on BSB time, even though you're not with them.
Yeah, because there's a difference between a job and a movement or a crew or right.
A team.
It's a team's a difference, man. You know that. You know, if I'm working for UPS and I get into an argument with a guy because I brung his box all bent up.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm off for UPS, I'm just off for UPS.
Yeah, you're not gonna care.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But when I'm moving with a team in a spotlight. Nobody's saying, "Oh, he ain't on that time right now."
Yeah,
right?
and someone you grew up with.
Yeah, somebody. No, it's 24/7. You know, 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. Sometimes you got to put the work in, right?
Yeah.
So you can't, certain things. It speaks on a person's leadership and general mind. You know what I mean? When you say, "Nah," your morals and your principles are really shot when somebody goes hard for you and you find a scapegoat as to not, go hard for them.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with what you're saying. That. I don't understand how people don't understand that, or people are saying that it wasn't on BSB time. To me, it's always BSB time. But correct me if I'm wrong on this, but when I heard you in the Doggy Diamonds interview, I heard you talking about when he had the audacity to talk about your brother sitting in jail. I felt like you were saying kind of like it was a tough love thing on your part. Like you knew where he was because you had been there, and you said, you need that right now. You need to sit down for a few minutes and calm down because you're going a little crazy with homeboy. Yeah. Is that what I understood to be your mind state about it?
I got communication about that whole thing, especially with dude.
Yeah.
And that's where I was because I already know what was going on, right?
Yeah.
And I know at one point I needed that. Right? I needed that slowdown.
Yep.
I felt he was going too hard for what he was going too hard for, not receiving the benefits that he should, the fruits of his labor. So I felt that you needed to slow down, right? And he in that time frame he was transitioning. And I actually got all the paperwork where dude actually posted some joint on social media about the bail. I mean, I got all that, man. I got, you know what I'm saying? I don't respond to everything, you know what I'm saying? But I could show contradiction to have the stuff that people put out.
Yeah.
I mean, through black and white, not through mouth in a song. You know what I mean? I'm not a rapper, but black and white speaks on everything. I got black and white to speak on my history. So, that's what it was for me. Yo, bro, relax. You know what I'm saying? Take your time. Get your mind together. Figure out what you're going to do. Yeah. But we couldn't anticipate what would happen. You know what I'm saying? But I really had that focus for him. Me and him spoke about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. You also at first you wished I saw the Revolt documentary. You wished him well. You weren't really mad at the beginning, but it seems like the disrespect over time is what made you switch, because you also kind of talked about in one of your...
I gave everybody a wish well on that Revolt.
Yes. Yeah.
I tried to be...
The whole BSB, yeah.
Not just that, everything.
Yeah.
Even the guy who had the event.
Yeah.
Right? I ain't got no problem. I was told he's going to reach out to me. Still ain't heard from him.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm some sucker, but nonetheless, I had to say, benefit of the doubt to everybody. But like you get into when you keep seeing the lack of respect, right?
Yeah.
And I can feel like with dude, he know that I'm on this different energy, right? And because I'm on this different energy, I'm gonna get away with a lot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, come on, homie, you're a strategist, right? You strategize that, right?
Yeah.
And society know that. The people's watching, but I know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that you can't even come in the same space with me in the room when nobody's there, right? And talk crazy in no shape, form, or fashion. It's gonna be all about respect and apologies. So you can't even face you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's really how I look at it, bro.
And he knows that in the public spotlight, if you were to do something that went against what you talked about, then it would kind of destroy what you're doing. You kind of mess up what you're doing. I think that what you said is very true about how he knows that you're on a new type of energy, and so he's kind of acting that way or reacting that way to the process of what's going on. But
he won't come near me and disrespect me. Yeah, nobody won't. Right? Yeah. It's a difference between living and giving energy and being on the defense, right? Yeah. And protecting yourself and your family And we don't ever want to mix that up. You know, we all have a right to protect ourselves and our family. So even though I push positive, I'm always going to protect my health and my well-being. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So instead of, fueling anybody's fire or adding to it, I just, I deal with it the way I deal with it. Because we see so much that we could respond to, and eventually we're going to have to give somebody that negative energy that they asking for if you continue to feed into their negative.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Very true. So one of the people that have been involved in this and now, been indicted for the murder is Taxstone. He was a podcaster at one point, and he has claimed to be a blood gang member, which I've heard you speak on, that you can't be one if you just say one day you became one. But I want to ask, growing up and being in Brooklyn, did you know this guy? Did y'all?
Never heard of him. He's a nobody. Always been.
Always been.
Yeah, always been nobody to me. I don't know. I was in the streets. Never heard of dude till he got a podcast. That's it. Ain't never put no work in nowhere. Fake homie. I don't know him. Never knew him. He gonna have a hard bid though. Anyway.
So yeah. So he was just. At first he was only arrested for the weapons charges, right?
Yeah.
And then now he was just last month indicted for the murder.
Yeah.
Did you see that coming from the very beginning? Like, have you known this? Like, have you known that that's coming for a long time now?
Yeah, I knew that.
For that him?
Yeah.
You knew that? Okay.
Let me tell you why I knew it, right? This is a national case.
Yeah.
I've been in the system. I know laws. So, and I'm from the street, so I always analyze everything, right? From the whole incident. And even though I never was able to get the footage myself because I didn't go to the DA, I didn't go to the Urban Plaza, I didn't want to deal with none of that. Mm-hmm. I saw it through Dude, right?
Yeah.
And as I'm looking at it, this is like shortly after he comes out of jail on bail. I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, look at all these people in here. Look at all these people going in and out that room. All these people, somebody's in the streets, right? Mm-hmm. That seeing what just happened. Might be a couple weeks, months or so, they're going to catch a case, and what they going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to snitch, right?
Yeah.
Because you at a concert with everybody that's all in the mix, scamming, drugging, right? So somebody's going to get in that situation, and I'm looking at the camera, and I'm saying, look at these faces, are too clear. I know they're going to do their job. They're going to run down on this person, run down on that person and identify them, right? They're going to do the investigation. Yeah. This was an enclosed building. You have to pass the camera to get into that building.
Yep.
There's no way you're going to get away with that, right?
Yeah.
So that was one of the main things for me of patience, right? I said, okay, you got patience because he's not getting away with that. And the only sad part for me was, when he got arrested first time, they was talking about bail. I was like, oh man, that's terrible.
Oh yeah.
If he gets bail, I go to jail. Right? So once there's an identification, I'm forced to respond, right? So that was, I didn't speak about the first time here. It's like, that was my concern. Yeah. When he first, all right, bail him out. I'm going to be right there. That was the risk I was going to take at that point. Yeah. Because you can't tell me you identify him and you put him back out in the community around me, right? I'm only human. Right? Let's keep it tall. You know what I'm saying?
There's only a certain amount you can take.
Fact, right? But that was really it for me. I always knew, I spoke on it before, I always knew that if he ever came anywhere near me, I was going back anyway.
Okay.
Right? Without him being arrested. So, like I said, when I speak about it, it's about the fact of reality, right? Yeah. These are the challenges, these things that I was going through and how I dealt with it. But I anticipated that happening because I understood the system. I understood how everything happens in a situation like that. I understood the fact that he was a convicted felon in possession. I knew that that would be a federal case. Yeah. I knew that once that had been a federal case, I know the feds you supersede. Once you get there, they're not playing with you. You're gonna take that. Once you take that, you committed to that. Now that's coming. That's the system. He didn't get no special treatment. It wasn't like that because it was him. That's how they work. Yeah. It was just a case the state needed for proof because they didn't have you in possession of it. Yeah. So now once they get their proof, do a federal case, now you got that state case. So yeah, that was that was what I was expecting to happen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, one thing that you said, which I don't understand why this didn't click in anybody's head when that whole thing took place, is you were saying there's a camera. You gotta walk when you walk in, you're on the camera. So I'm kind of wondering, like, as you see cameras, why is there even any criminal activity going on in front of, like, when there's cameras around? Why does it even escalating to that point and you not stopping before realizing, hey, there's cameras, people are watching, people are this, that, and the third. But my question is, at first when you found out about what happened with Tax and Dude, how much did that play in your head about him opening his mouth so much and then your brother kind of paying for it? Was that something that drove your anger as well? Is that he was opening his mouth and your brother was the one who had to face problems because of that?
Definitely. This, now that it's out, everybody understand that was a long going confrontation via social media between them.
Yeah.
So, to see it from the beginning and speak on it and try to have conversations and alleviate it and never go in a positive way, to see what happened, yeah, man, that's something that it constantly replays in my mind. My brother, because my older brother that's incarcerated, that we always talk about, like, son, how many times we tried to, you know what I mean? And now look who we lost behind, nigga running his mouth.
Yeah.
Right? So that was one of the biggest challenges for me. Just not becoming real hateful.
Beefing with these guys, a lot of your team has to deal with sometimes the repercussions, and then a lot of times, I mean, I know your brother was from that, like he was from y'all's environment, but a lot of the people that are on these teams are not from these environments. They're publicists or regular 9-to-5 people. And they end up getting hurt, and they're not even about that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like as a rapper, you got to hold some responsibility to how powerful your words are.
Right.
You got to take some responsibility to that, I feel. So I wanted to ask you, man, the people that like are in radio and certain people that were supporters of Tax, saying free Tax, paying his bail, paying this, trying to get him out. How does that rub you? How does that feel to you? Like how do you view that? Are you like kind of on some like, come on, y'all know what happened? Why are y'all supporting someone who did that kind of thing?
I think it's good that I'm in the mental space that I'm in.
Okay.
Because in my mental space now in my life, I do everything I can to help give somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
To try to understand it from somebody else's position. If I only look at it from my position, then we could respond in the ways we know, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's troubling, right? When you look at the act.
Yeah.
The act isn't act that we support and that's warranted, right?
Yeah.
We look at the innocent person losing his life, and people want to support the one who allegedly is guilty of it, right?
Yeah.
That's sickening, man.
Yeah.
Right? Even if that's how you feel, shut up and feel that way on your own.
You said your sons are 17 now, right?
Yeah.
So they lost their uncle, right? Banger was how old when he passed?
33.
Your brother was 33. Oh.
Just turned 33, May 9th.
Wow. He looks looks a lot younger than that. What was Banger's aspirations besides this? What did he want out of life? I think that's really important for when a person leaves this earth. We know what their dreams and goals were in life.
His fitness. He had big fitness, but overall, I don't think he locked himself into one.
Okay.
I think that was the biggest thing of conversation between me and him. I used to say, bro, jack of all trades, master of none. Right? He was just so into so many different things. Yeah. Because he's 33 and talented. And he's trying to really pinpoint exactly what that was. You know what I mean? Yeah. So everybody don't get that. Right? So it's like he was modeling. He was doing what he was doing with the music. Yeah. He was doing fitness. Right? So he had so many bro paid for minor leagues. He paid for the ABA. Oh, right? Wow. Right, so we were talking about, starting youth leagues, associations, so many different things, and he was getting to that point. Yeah. Right? I'm 39. I came home in 2008. I was 30, right, when I was last released. right? So at 30, had to be in that situation and start finding out what my goal was. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why I really focus on that now, because I think if we wait too late, we get caught up in situations that can deter us from what we really want to do.
That's crazy how you're saying he was kind of, the things that he were kind of doing, he was kind of wanting to get into, were also in the avenue of helping people in another way.
No, he was part of GMAC all day, every day.
Okay.
He was very instrumental in his work, but the goal was to try to do the work that we do in the hip hop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To make those connections, to start holding accountability on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So even in working with Son, that was our goal, right?
Yeah.
We in here, we working, you doing the music, but let's also help the violence that's within the music, within hip hop.
That's important because people don't realize how powerful the culture is. Right. And the culture is so powerful that message of GMAC gets spread a lot faster into a lot more masses when it's put out through the culture avenue.
Once the message is understood, I don't think so many of them are comfortable with promoting positivity because they make paper off of negativity.
Yeah, the negative sells.
So it's hard to get somebody who makes money off of negative to promote positive because they're worried about their reputation.
Yeah,
I wasn't worried about my reputation when I started to change. I get people who want to challenge it every day. Yeah, right. But you got to do what's necessary.
Yeah, it's a lot of times I think people think that just because you're doing something illegal, it's not negative. Right. But that's not really necessarily the case. It's not true. So the last thing I wanted to speak on was, of course, the most important person in all of this is your mother. How is she doing, first of all, at this present moment?
Mom's blessed. Mom's is a warrior. I can't, I get asked that a lot. But I can't never answer that because she's never going to tell you.
Exactly.
You know
Moms don't say it.
She's never going to tell you. She'll tell you she's okay, but there's times where it's been clear that she's not. I'm still working to move her.
Okay.
Out the neighborhood. She doesn't stay at home much. She travels a lot. My mother's a pastor.
Really?
Yeah, but like I said, it's still fresh. That was her baby, so
yeah.
I know I'm not the best, so I know she's not. She can't front for me. Yeah. But she holds it strong. She's a warrior, like I said, and she just she's getting better with the fact that at least there's some type of justice happening for her.
Yeah.
Right. That's most important. As long as mommy's feeling that she's okay through the justice, because that justice system ain't nothing for me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. No, definitely. I realizing the strength of mothers, I seen my mother walk across the street from one hospital to another while her husband's fighting for his life in one hospital, and I'm flatlined dead for 5 minutes in another hospital, and she's walking back and forth. And then, I interviewed Mama Capone, whose son was killed in a shooting out leaving a studio. And it's amazing. You realize the strength of mothers as you talk to them, and you talk to them in their loss and in their hurt. You really realize the strength of, one, a woman, and two, a mother, and especially a mother of all boys. Like my mom has all boys, right. So we're all mama's boys. So it's kind of like man, that's crazy. I can't imagine. Your mother never really liked dude. Is what you said. She never really cared for dude.
Yeah, she never felt the energy. It's like a woman's intuition.
Yeah, a mother's intuition. They have that. You know? They know who our best friends are.
We ain't gonna just say mothers because a woman could have it too, and we don't listen to it. They might tell us don't go outside, and we go out and we get locked up. I say that because that happens to me too. So, mother's intuition is definitely something that it was. Hold on 1 second.
For sure.
I don't know who this number is. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, you're saying your mother really didn't like him, and I can understand that. He did a high school fund, correct? And you said that was not even the right high school.
Yeah. That was the right high school. It wasn't the right sport.
It wasn't the right sport.
Yeah.
He did football. Your brother was basketball.
Right.
And you said there was a reason he did football.
His brother
correct?
played football.
His brother played football. Yeah. So it's only meant for football players, specifically meant for football players.
Probably his brother's man.
Wow.
Okay. More than likely.
Okay. Well, man, tell the people. Let's tell the people how they can help you and how they can help GMAC. And where they can go find your stuff to donate if they want to donate.
Well, GMAC is online, gangstermackin.com, www.gangstermackin.com. You can find me on social media, Trife_Gangsta on Instagram. Our organization is on Facebook. Gangsters Making Astronomical Community Changes Incorporated. If you're in the city of New York or abreast, you want to reach out, there's a dear homie. We can leave a letter or note asking for assistance and guidance, how we can support. For us, I've never really been a big ask of people when it comes to support and donations, because it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
People don't feel it necessary. They'll give the Red Cross before they give it to a gun violence organization. But Red Cross has been here forever, and I still don't know what the heck they did. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it tall. What are you doing? Okay, disrespect to, cancer organizations, right?
Yeah.
That's been researching for years. If you give us that type of money for years, we're going to show you the decline in violence in our communities, right? That's what I'm talking about. It's talking about if someone is giving money to an organization, you should be able to see where that money is going.
Yes.
I had a brother who just pulled up in front of my office the other day, wanted to say something to me. He said, how can I donate? Right? I said, well, just look at the stuff that we are doing. And then if you see something that we're doing and it looks like you want to add to it to help us, then do it that way.
Okay.
That way you can see where your money's going. Right?
Okay.
That's really what it's about, right? Because I don't want, I wear nice clothes and things like that. Right? And I don't want people thinking that I need donations for me to look good. We're organizations that don't get that.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody wants to get the gangsters' money. So we get our money through funding and through the work that we put in.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody decides later in the future they want to support, then that's on them. But my focus right now is just doing the work through the avenues that I know best. And if people want to help, not just helping us, but help them the work.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I want. People to help the work. Find a way to help the work of violence prevention, minimizing gun violence in our communities, helping our young people.
Yeah.
That's what we want people to get more in tuned in. Like I said earlier, if you can find an organization near you, I'm sure if you hit the Google, you look up organizations in your area, wherever you at, that's doing something. If you don't see nothing, that means you need to put one there. If it's there, then reach out and ask them how you can be part of that. And that's just really what it takes. As long as we can do something different in a positive way, then we'll make changes. For me, brother, I'm just going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing because it's working and helping and healing.
Yeah.
And if I could help somebody by them reaching out and I'm giving them a sense of direction, then I'm here for that as well.
Yeah, and you've shown results that it's working, which is very important, I feel. I like that you said that people get to see where their money is going. When I come up to New York for my surgery, I would love to come by and see the office and see the place and see what you guys are doing.
Definitely pull up.
That'd be dope.
It's all love. Once again, I appreciate you. I don't know what this is. August, right?
Yeah, it's August.
You've been at me for a while, right?
Yeah.
What's this? How many months?
I hollered at you. I hollered at you when we first started the podcast a few months ago.
Yeah. I pay attention. Like I said, I appreciate your consistency. This is definitely not my city. This is Houston, Texas. So for those who don't understand, that's important that, I came out because I respect and value the work that you're doing and
appreciate it, man.
How you're trying to get it done, right? Like I said, I could, we spoke about somebody else earlier. Like I could continue to do podcasts and interviews. It's not really something that I do. But when there's a need and somebody is valuable, I'll bring that to the table. And that's why I'm here. So keep doing what you're doing. If I could be supportive to you and your work, brother, let me know. All right. When you come in the city, maybe I'll get you in tune with a bigger all for the culture with some of the other brothers out there doing the work.
That'd be dope. I would love to do that. I'm definitely gonna have my camera on me. Definitely going.
Yeah, you do
try
that.
to work when I get out there.
Yeah, you gotta do that after we give you a couple of days to relax. You can't just come right to work. Don't come out of the hospital. Come right to work. All right.
Yeah, I won't. So you can check us out, man. www.all4theculture.com. You can check us out on IG at All for the Culture Show. I'm on IG at Hip Hop Handicap, the Twitter, the Instagram, and the Snapchat, and youtube.com/All for the Culture Show. And you want to shout out your social medias, man?
Yeah, definitely. Once again, I'm on IG, Trife_Gangsta, Twitter at General Vanguard. You can find me on Facebook, Sean Duke McFadder. I could use my government and my street name. That shows you the value that I ain't did nothing wrong to nobody and I do this work right. And you can reach out, website www.gangstermackin.com. You can Google us. We are out there, the work that we're doing. If you want to connect us with somebody that's doing good work, we want to reach out to the people who don't even know that they're capable of doing this work. Some city, some borough, some state, there's a young brother that want to do it, and there's an older brother that been through it. And we need to bring them to the front lines and change the energy of our communities. That's what this is about. It's about unity. It's about one race, and that's the human race, unifying for change. That's my focus.
Yep, and you know, this platform is always open to you and your organization. You know, I love the type of things that you guys are doing, and we love to, you know, give it shine whenever we can. So anytime y'all need a platform, man, we're more than welcome to have you, get you down here again and talk more. But that's it for today, man. We appreciate y'all, and we're gonna be back again, man. Thanks,
Peace.
man.